back in the 77, 78.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I did that for about 36.
36.
Two doors on the side. I love that thing. I know it's not one of my contacts here, but
I got my ATV on the C27. I don't know what that is. And then from there I went to 727. 727, I went to 737, 100, 200. Got into Black 111. Then I got into Cruise 757. That was the end of the story. So I flew back 111. Back there. I had a Cherokee 6 before that. I had a 401.
Oh, yeah. That's my choice. Actually, that's tomorrow.
310. Those were nice airplanes. Yeah, 180 horsepower.
you would fly on one engine.
Oh, yeah. But I tell you what,
Oh, yeah.
and the maintenance was pretty good.
I was watching it. Water. Yeah, not too like this, and just, that was final precious time.
And then they moved to 7 months later. They absolutely love it. But he's the guy who got that. Oh my gosh. Oh, I know. I don't even. They're draining. No.
I had a Cherokee within 300. 91.
Ours was 150. We had to go to the meeting.
Yes, yeah, I was going to ride. That's why I
didn't know meeting. We took off.
like on January 6th. Right, that's how it started. I'm guessing.
You know, talking to the tower list going, talking to the park, 7,000. Are you at 7,000?
Wait, 7,000 feet ATL?
No.
You were climbing at 300 feet because of these two heavy guys that were in the what?
So we called up and goes, are you at 7,000? No, sir, we're not. Okay, report 7,000 feet. we just kept going, kept going. So you at 7,000 people registered with us? Was this the point that then finally we called up, are you at 7,000 people? Go no, sir. Well, you're out by raising.
Hey.
So continue on VFR. Okay.
I know we'll just have something real quick. Okay. So it'll be after.
I go ahead and fill them up to the brim and we'll be able to wipe them. Anyway, so I leave here 4.5 hours later. You know, if you have to drive it, 3.5 hours, you can't have too many people.
Yeah, so that was why I thought about it.
Oh, did he? Okay. Thanks.
My son lives out. My other son lives out.
But then they threw in the Texas cheese at that $3
I was looking at it like,
They look good. So are those
maybe it would be my son.
the other I had heard maybe
Also,
I don't know.
the guy, the banker said, don't do anything. The house is can't do it. So I held off buying something.
Prices over here.
So finally, got the house done in the place. So I had to come up with something. So I didn't have to. That was where my earphone I don't know where. Ready.
I'll see. Lemon bar, I got Mary is gone. I don't know where she got it. She's really
Eric, what a run. Good to see you.
Yes, the day after Labor Day is the 3rd of September. Then we'll be back to 18. Let me tell you. Fortunately, well,
If you would just kind of look at me.
Yeah, we do have mics. Yeah, we should do a mic. We did mic checks before, so we should be okay.
Line in. I'm sure. Yeah, because a lot of times.
Mañana never
Should I go back and take another video? Y luego después le pegué a la de Telemundo. I'm sorry. Bueno, iba para el 14 también. Ah.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to beautiful Las Cruces, New Mexico, and the two-capacity Las Cruces Convention Center. It is incredible to see all of your faces here. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Exactly, thank you. I'm going to introduce a couple of people directly to my right before we get started, just so everybody knows who they are. There are and a brief statement and summary about why we're here tonight. Public safety in New Mexico, public safety in Las Cruces. We've traveled here to Las Cruces to join in listening, working together, and solving the crime problem that we are experiencing. That is done through unification, through collaboration, and through hard work. And we applaud you for being here to work towards, collaboratively, our shared goals of a safer Las Cruces, Doña Ana County, and state of New Mexico. Thank you very much for your attendance, folks. We have an incredible panel of experts up here that are going to be able to share their insights as we field questions and hear comments from the community members gathered here before us. But before we get to the introduction of those panel members, it is my honor to bring up to the podium for some opening remarks the person that has brought us here this evening, our Governor, Michelle Lujan Grisham. Madam.
The box I'm standing on is particularly small, and I can only guess that's because of the rest of the panel is particularly tall. I got a very kind welcome, and I'm incredibly gratified to see so many people here. I was doing a lot of these kinds of town halls on a number of issues around 2019, and actually I started some of those roundtable discussions about the economy and public safety and education and a number of things right here in Las Cruces. And then COVID and fires and floods and all relatively hard to deal with, but nonetheless, it's been too long since we've had just a public discussion. Now, I'm assuming that we're not all going to be on the same page for a lot of things, and that's fine and good. As long as we treat each other with respect, you can expect that from me, that this is about calling out directly issues that you're concerned about so that we know what they are, so that we can all work to try to resolve them, and to get a sense about how people are feeling about this issue in the state. Now, I think most of you know that I'm feeling worried. I can't understate my concern. So I drive around the state a lot. I'd like to fly around the state more, but I think we finally, to the legislature who is here, who funded a safe new twin prop engine, I think we have it. I don't think all the pilot testing hours are done. So long story short, I drive. And every time I'm in a community, I'm beginning to see more and more risk. And unrelated, but part of a growing sentiment of hopelessness. I know that many of you know that I've been out picking up trash, and I actually got some money from the legislature to do something about cleaning up New Mexico. And in that effort, what do you think I'm finding? Needles, drug paraphernalia clearly related to smoking fentanyl, alcohol, cans, bottles, and not just a little, a lot. And where do you think I'm finding it? In parks and playgrounds and near schools. And I'm finding too much. So much, in fact, that some of the community work that we engage in, I can't have, because it's too dangerous for community members to be exposed to the risks for cleaning up. That's a very harsh reality, and I don't recognize my state. Now I'm going to go to the other side of that. Mental illness being unhoused, drug addictions are things that we should be treating. But I want to be really clear that there is an intersection to serious criminal activity in the state. And how do I know that? Because I asked for the data to show it to all of us. And here's the data, and then I'm going to be quiet. Since 2017, more than 16,000 cases have been dismissed in New Mexico courts for competency. Now, what does that mean? And I don't practice law, I never really did, so we should ask experts to make sure that anything I say about that is completely accurate. I intend for it to be so. But it basically means that you can't stand for trial if you're not competent to stand before the judge and a jury. That's the legal process. It's a very good standard. Otherwise, we would just prosecute people who have no other, right? It's not their fault to have a significant mental health issue. That would be unfair. But in doing so, they don't go to treatment, they just go to the streets. All right, so I want to repeat that. More than 16,000 cases since 2017, and people, which I can't think of anything more inhumane, go right back where they were in a very unsafe environment. Number two, well more than 5,000 of those cases since 2017 are very dangerous felonies. Rape, drug trafficking, human trafficking, attempted murder, and they represent about 3,200 individuals who often have multiple arrests for those felonies. So now I want you all to think about that for a second, because this is where I am. So I have 3,290 individuals since 2017 who have been released largely in bigger cities, Las Cruces, Santa Fe, Albuquerque as examples, but these are statewide numbers. These are individuals that are often, in addition, before a judge 30 and 40 times a year. That makes no sense. And so many other states have changed their laws because our laws are antiquated. Two more things, I'm going to be quiet. The reason that we have to be careful here is because what we would be doing to interrupt that nexus is we would say a person with these issues, so narrowly defined, coming before the court several times for serious issues, not misdemeanors, would be required by the court to have treatment. In a court-ordered, if you don't go, you're not inpatient, then you are in trouble with the court. You must go until you're able to stand for the charges and let justice system do what it does. So this notion that we would just put everyone in jail is false because that's illegal. Two, that we don't have enough beds. We've got an expert here on the MCOs. We're not going to have 3,000 people all at once. The truth is they're all over every community, not even sure where they all are. But we can handle hundreds a year. All right, hundreds. And the purpose really is that the people who are also living unhoused are trafficked and preyed upon by these very same individuals who are also creating incredible risk in our communities. Last thing, and I proposed many bills, but the competency and the commitment bill is the nexus that I think must be addressed for this state to get its arms around the growing challenges that we have. There isn't someone I'm willing to bet, even though we expected 200 and we have 500 that isn't impacted by this issue directly or indirectly. And so I want to make sure people know that we all are going to have courage in this space. None of this is easy. My family has been directly impacted, an attempted murder, 2 close family members with serious drug addictions. One is sober, one is not. Another family member just recently assaulted by someone at her house with her 2 small children alone. Called the police, police didn't come. They can't come because the dispatch calls related to many of these issues were just on this terrible cycle and circle. I think we should do something about it. In addition, it is also accurate that I have proposed many times for criminal penalty enhancements in a number of places where I think serious, dangerous individuals should be in jail longer or in prison longer so that we're safer longer until we figure out as a country and as a state how to contain and manage some of these threats. I said 2 things. I really am going to do one more and end. I promise, or I'm going to get that. There's a hook. We do have a serious issue with housing shortages, and we do have some significant challenges with behavioral health. Anyone who says that we don't isn't telling you the truth. But they may not tell you, which you'll hear tonight, that we've had the largest per capita increases in behavioral health access by far than any other place in the country. I also won't tell you that I asked for $500 million last year. I asked for an Office of Housing. I didn't get an Office of Housing. I asked for that twice, and I didn't get all the money that I want, but the legislature was incredibly generous and bipartisan about housing. So we have not 400, we have a little over 200 million that I think we can leverage to about 400, 500. We're gonna build. And I know that we're going to be successful at building affordable housing because we're going to do a lot of it on state land, which means I don't have to deal with a lot of the zoning and other things, but I would not minimize protections, quality housing, and environmental justice for everyone here. So those standards would stay. We've also put money in at the state level, $20 million, for addressing not just root causes, but supporting people who are unhoused. I might point out that it's not a #1 issue that ever gets to me by anyone in the state. No counties, no cities. I put that money in my own budget. Now, I hope that didn't sound like I'm mad at local government. They have a lot of stuff, including if I were a mayor anywhere, my #1 priority is going to make sure you have clean drinking water. And they are laser focused on water and resources and infrastructure, and quite frankly, they should be. But I don't want us to get wrapped into that we're not putting the resources that you know you're going to need for all these other things. That's just not accurate. Probably we need a lot more, and probably we're going to have to move a lot faster. And frankly, we should have been doing more of this for the last decade. But we're here now, and I want to hear from you, and every idea is valid. And again, the ground rules. We treat each other with respect. We assume that everyone from their perspective is providing guidance, information, and issues that are valid and important to them. And we are equals in this room. And every idea and every strategy, we're going to try to navigate. If we can't get to everyone, I will find a way to either come right back, to call, to email, to write, to get people to sign up. I work for you. And I know I won't be able to do all of it tonight, but I'll do my damnedest to be available to every single person who made their way here tonight. I thank you for your time and attention, and I'm grateful to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Governor. as usual, appreciate your words and your leadership. I'm going to recognize a couple of folks here in attendance real quickly, and then we're going to get to the matter at hand, which is hearing from this community. First person I'd like to recognize is President, and if we could hold our applause to the end so that we can be able to recognize all of these folks at one time. Thora Walsh from the Mescalero Apache tribe has joined us here. Thank you very much, President, for being here. The governor clapped, so everybody can clap. Public safety professionals. I was in this room for many hours this morning when we were setting up, and it was 1/3 this size. There are so many representatives from the public safety space. Thank you for your attendance here today. It is incredibly meaningful.
When you introduce them, could they stand so that we that don't know them could recognize them?
Absolutely, sir. That's a great idea. The request from the front, in case folks couldn't hear it, was that when I recognize you, if you could please stand so that the community can recognize who I have raised attention to. Obviously, public safety professionals here are too numerous to be able to recognize individual, but there are a lot of them, so thank you. Also, I'd like to recognize our armed forces service members and veterans especially. Thank you very much for your service and your attendance here today. New Mexico legislative body, which conveniently is seated largely right in front of me, although there may be others that I don't see, starting with Senator Morris. Please be recognized. Thank you, Senator. I will try and speak up. How is that? Senator Diamond Brantley. Thank you, Senator. And seated next to her, Senator Joseph Cervantes. We have many municipal and county elected officials in attendance here. Again, today there will be too many to list, but thank you for your service and your willingness to serve in these communities. We have many leaders from the Las Cruces and Doña Ana business community. I want to recognize those folks in attendance here today. Thank you very much. And last, but certainly not least by any stretch, the members of the community that have driven from far and wide to join us here today. I want a large round of applause for the folks that I have introduced, but mostly for yourselves. Thank you, community of Las Cruces. Okay, and on to the business. I'm going to take a couple statements about what the format will be so that we can be smooth and efficiently get to your comments and questions. The way that we will do this is, again, as was suggested by the governor, and I think is the proper way to address the decorum here today. Raise your hand, and two of my colleagues, Gina and James, will take a microphone to your position. You will be recognized. What we'd ask from those folks is those that are able to, if they could stand up so that folks can see who is acknowledging them if possible, and that if you could lead with your name so that we would know who is addressing this community and this panel of experts. So that's the way we're going to start that. Before we get to the first question, I'm going to introduce our panelists so that you know who you have here answering your questions. I'm going to hand them a microphone so that they can accomplish that. They will quickly introduce themselves, and we will move to the first question.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Gerald Byers, District Attorney, Doña Ana County.
Good evening, Jeremy Story, Chief of Police for the Las Cruces Police Department, and thank you to the thank you guys for being here. This shows that Las Cruces cares about public safety, and we care about making a difference and making a change. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jamie Michael. I'm with the county's Health and Human Services Department. I serve as the director.
Good evening. I'm Patrick Allen. I'm the Secretary of the State Department of Health.
Thank you, distinguished panel. Additionally, we have many members of the New Mexico Executive Branch Cabinet here. General Aguilar is here, Secretary of Public Safety Jason Bowie, and Secretary of Corrections Alicia Tafoya Lucero. Many of their staff members are here additionally. So thank you, secretaries, for your leadership and your willingness to be here, and thank you, panel, for your willingness to stand for questions here in this community. Without any further ado, I see several hands raised. If I can have my microphone colleagues begin to disperse without the crowd, and let's take our first question.
Let me stand, please. My name is Pablo Hernandez Borunda. I was born and raised here in Las Cruces 80 years ago. I live in the same home where I was born in 80 years ago. I've been very active in our community for many years, and I want to thank you, Governor, because I met you when you were a young woman. When you came to our help, when we asked the state for help on repairs that we needed at the East Side Community Center many years ago. And it was because of your help, we got remodeled, got air conditioning system, and it started back then. So I served my country when I was 18, 19, and 20. I'm a twice combat veteran during the Kennedy era, during the Cold War, when the Cuban and Russian Missile Crisis. I was on the Bering Sea in the first line of defense to protect our country back then. Then, in the early part of January of 1965, we were the first part of the elite team when Operation Rolling Thunder began, the bombardment of the Ho Chi Minh Trail out of Cambodia. So, having said that, I served a total of 6 years in the military for my country, and I hate to see where our country is headed at this point in time. And I want to thank you on behalf of the American GI Forum, which has granted me the opportunity to invite you to a meeting after our convention in Washington, D.C., where all of these issues that I'm going to speak about today will be discussed in Washington at that convention. And he also wanted me to extend an invitation to meet with you personally, and he'll fly down from wherever it is that they're going to be to meet with you in Santa Fe after the convention. So having said that, I want to say, having been active in our community for many years as part of the community, we championed the first, what I call disgraceful conduct of our city of Las Cruces government. When the Home Rule Charter was adopted, which gave the city mayor and the city council and the exclusive rights to manage our city whichever way their policies dictated, thereby then eliminating the state of New Mexico's responsibility. And the only time that the state of New Mexico enters to help us when we call your office and ask for help is during the election cycle and on April the 15th when the tax man comes knocking on our door. I have gone for many years to city council meetings to get the mayor and the city council to deal with the drug addiction, to deal with the homelessness, to deal with the drug addicts in my neighborhood. And I have never gotten any help. What I do know is that those drug dealers are selling, the Las Cruces Police Department and our city government allows these drug dealers to sell their drugs in close proximity to 3 churches, to the federal program of the Fielders Safe Haven Home for children, next to Washington Elementary School. And each time that I've gone to city council meetings, which have been many times over the years, I get no help from our mayor, our city manager, and or our city council people, representatives. I have contacted the county sheriff department, Stewart, to report drug addiction, drug sales in my neighborhood right next door to me. And no one from the police department or the sheriff department or anyone from the authority of government helps us.
Can I try? Let's do that. Oh, I have my own. I'm having trouble. used to it like it was a pen, but, oh, there it goes. Sir, what an honor to see you again. I'm glad to hear about Eastside Community Center. I used to spend a lot of time here for senior services. I'd like to spend more time here. And while I can't address very effectively local government independence, which I actually support, and the executive branch, so maybe not the answer you were hoping for. But Chief, can I put you on the spot for a moment? Perhaps the Chief and Secretary, we would like to have more patrolling in that neighborhood. Let's start with that. And that's something that we can do. We've been putting about $130 million into additional police community policing efforts. And I, for one, would like to see, and we've spoken about it, more patrolling, but we need more resources. So we're leveraging right now. The goal is to hire probably another 1,000 officers statewide. And for everyone in this community, New Mexico has fewer law enforcement officers today by far than it had a decade ago. So part of this issue is that we stopped investing in public safety. And that's not true anymore. We're investing, but like a doctor, I can't just, you're a police officer. It doesn't work that way. They need to be skilled, highly trained, and it's been hard, but we're moving the needle there. So let's start with that. And is that all right if I support you in that effort, and then we'll see where we go from there? And the chief will tell you that he's got sufficient resources for now to bolster, to recruit. So if you want to be a police officer, please come see us. And then we'll get some more money for that. So that's how we'll deal with that one right there. So everybody hear that? We need more police officers. We're investing. We are thousands less today than 10 years ago. Let's catch up. And we've been getting money to do that. I asked for 150. I think we got about 120. And we've included firefighters. And I have every intention of trying to double that number in the next legislative session and hope to get that appropriation over the finish line. Thank you, sir. Can I call you? How about this? I'm so glad you're here, but I want to make sure I hear from other folks, and I'm so long-winded.
Very important to say that our state legislators that went to Santa Fe 3 weeks ago to talk about these issues gave you 5 hours of our time and walked out on you, and none of these issues were resolved. I've tried the district attorney's office, I've tried my local district attorney, my county commissioners, my city council. I've tried everybody in the state of New Mexico, the attorney general's office, for help. And this gentleman here, who is the chief of police, refuses and allows the drug dealers to continue to sell their drugs because the police,
No booing. Let's, I was in Washington for so much booing, I just can't take it anymore. We are not Washington, D.C. We are so much better than that in New Mexico. Sir, I hear your frustration, and I am gratified by treatment.
yes, you can call me and
Okay.
we can talk to you.
All right, but okay, right now, I'm going to make you get you write your phone number right there, and then I'm going to call you, so.
Yes, please.
All right, don't hurt my feelings.
I'm not.
Okay, all right, sir.
I'm all for you 100%.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Donna Stryker. I'm here for Businesses for Safer Las Cruces. My question, thank you for coming, by the way. I really, really appreciate it. And I think many, many people in this room support Chief Story, and that is not our experience, that we get a lot of response from our police and a lot of concern and care, and I want to support that. My question, Governor, is that many of us were very frustrated when your special session was adjourned. Very upset. A lot of people worked very, very hard. Chief Story was one of them, I know. And my concern is that many of us in this room sent emails, phone calls, texts, no response, radio silence. we don't exist in the southern part of the state. It was very discerning. And so what do we do? What do I do personally as a citizen and a voter between now and January when the next session comes? What can our group do? We're very vocal. We're very peaceful. We're not political. We don't have an agenda. We're grassroots. What can we do to get the people in the legislature to listen to us and have a conversation with us and not dismiss us? It's very frustrating. What can we do?
Well, you're doing it now, and me too, and I'm going to stand up for your legislators. And I think I've said this publicly. Legislators have an independent responsibility, and part of it is oversight and pushing back on an executive that tries to just do a bunch of stuff. Now that I said that, I disagreed with the legislature too. I called the special session because I think this is so important. And I get these phone calls and I get videos from people and I see the police reports and I'm picking up needles and I shouldn't be picking up needles. And I pick them up in my neighborhood and I live in the most protected house in the state of New Mexico. I am always safe. Shouldn't that be the standard for every New Mexican? That should not only apply to me, but why does it apply to me? Because I have round-the-clock police protection. That says a lot, doesn't it? And when I moved there, there wasn't fencing, there weren't the cameras, because it was a lot safer in 2019. It is not the same place, even 5 years ago. I'm hoping that this is not a legislative versus federal government. The delegation, you should know, including Representative Vasquez, is working on border security, more public safety, more community investments, and we're aligned. They want me to do my part so they can do their part. The legislature's job is to make sure we don't go too far. They will do that. I don't think any of these proposals, if you're a drug dealer, you should spend more time in prison if you're convicted. If you are selling fentanyl, you should spend, if convicted, more time in prison. If you're a felon in possession of a firearm, a 15 and a 16-year-old were just shot dead in Alamogordo by an 18-year-old who was part of, potentially, it's still being investigated, somebody else who I would bet my bottom dollar is a felon in possession of multiple firearms. Why are they out? So, well, thank you. I don't understand it. I don't think these bills, in large part, frankly, go far enough, but it is a step in the right direction. And it is also true that people serve, in large part, less time if convicted in New Mexico than any of the surrounding states. Ask the U.S. Attorney, ask any, it's everywhere. Ask any, the feds, which is why we try to get people to meet a federal prosecutorial level, because they're going to, if convicted, we're going to be safer. But that is not true in the state court system. I think we were clear that New Mexico is and was, we're different. We are poorer. We are a multicultural state. We are clear about the potential for discrimination. We are. But somehow, that set of premises and values didn't keep up with the kind of risks that are ever present in our neighborhoods and communities. And so I submit to you, we're going to do both. Prevention, values upstream, and bad actors need to be held accountable. So being here, what if I were to start a statewide petition, and what if our goal is to get 500,000 New Mexicans who say enough is enough? Done.
Where do I sign?
Okay. All right, I'll get it out today.
Good afternoon. Thank you for coming.
My name is America Terrazas, and I come from one of the 37 colonias that Doña Ana County is composed of. And saying that, that means being a colonia, we are neglected. We don't have proper lighting. We don't have proper roads. We don't have emergencies to go to when something happens. 2 years ago, we had 2 teenagers that lost their lives. The parents looked for them all night because they didn't make it home. And we found them the following day, dead, right there, because our streets are dark black. We need street lighting. We need good roads. We need a place for our kids to have fun, not to go kill themselves. Many years ago, we used to do cleaning in our community, and now we do cleaning in a different way. We ask the county to take the dumpsters, and everybody cleans their yards, and they take it to the dump site there, because yes, needles and drugs. My granddaughter said, "Mom, what is this? A candy? No, that's a drug." And it's spread all over. And we have no policing. Whatever happens, 2 weeks ago, I had an accident, and it was on the other side of where I live right now. And, I mean, no policing. Everybody is loose. And kids, they have better armory than our forces. Everybody has a gun. Please help our directors here, our county with their budget, because all they can tell us, we don't have the budget. We don't have the money. We can't give you a light bulb to light your street. So I don't want another kid dead in the morning because of the street lighting. And kids are kids. They'll be driving no matter what the speed you put in there.
Couple quick ideas. This thing is scary. It's off, and then I sound like the voice of God. So I apologize if I'm hurting your ears. All right, on the lighting is a public safety issue. The state is right now, we're about to light up downtown Albuquerque. Now we're about 4 months behind schedule, and it's not really Secretary Bowie's job, but I'm going to give it to you right now. You get that sucker on schedule, and then you get, and Diego Adencon is, where are you? He's hiding. Wherever that guy is, if I have enough money in my generic public safety bucket, I don't know, I will fund lighting for as many of the colonias areas with the current infrastructure that I can. Whatever we don't do right now, I will put into my capital. So the legislature is very generous. They give me a percentage, and our budget is quite healthy. So I know, and they don't micromanage me. They let me put whatever I want in there. That's not, most governors don't get that. It's a gift in many ways in New Mexico. So when I say I can put money for lighting for you in my budget, I know that I can get that delivered. So I'll take care of that. Let's hope it's not $100 million. I'm spending, just so the senator knows, on some of these budget commitments, I think we're spending right about $3.5 million in Albuquerque. So I don't know what this will cost. It's a much bigger area, so I don't know, but I'm hoping it's in a ballpark that allows me to spread money to all the counties. And then I'll work with the county and others on other issues, including some things for kids nearby. So let's start there, and thank you for your comment.
It's on? Oh, okay. Maria Linares, I'm born and raised here in Las Cruces, right here. Thank you for coming. I was actually going to address something regarding codes. It's been over a year that there's a trash house in front of my mom's house. All the surrounding neighbors are elderly people, retired veterans, and this house we believe is the fentanyl house, but we can't prove it. And there's traffic coming in and out, and right now there's piles and piles of trash in the front. We've called codes. Codes comes, they leave, nothing happens. My son's yard grows weeds and Codes takes him to court. We don't understand what takes so long and why these people are still living the way they are living. We've gotten officers involved. We've gotten, I got with the senator. The senator emailed me back, addressed it with the NAT team. I get no phone calls. We haven't resolved this issue and it's been over a year.
What area are we talking about? You don't have to give me the address right now, but what area?
It's the central area, Balama Drive.
So a few things. Obviously, that's frustrating. That's not the first one I've heard even today. And so there's a lot of need in that area specifically, and everything ties together. So when we have codes issues, we tend to have other issues that are associated in other criminal acts. So what I can say is a lot of times when our officers and our codes officers are responding to calls, because of the call volume, they're trying to solve whatever's going on that day and move on, because that's just what's required logistically. That doesn't actually solve the problem, and so we get another call the next day or two more the next week. So what I can offer you right now is these gentlemen right back here, these officers who I task everything to. These are part of our community outreach section. And what they do, among many things, is they try to solve underlying problems. So they try to look at what's actually causing it and how do we work together with the community and other groups to try to find a solution. So I will have one of them talk to you before you leave. Don't leave without talking to them, and see if we can find a solution.
The problem is we're tired of your excuses as cities.
Okay, just for that, we're not going to get to have coffee for 3 hours, just 2. Okay. All right, sir. More for me.
Governor and distinguished panel, my name is Art Alvarado. I'm from Berino, New Mexico. It's about a little community 4 miles north of Anthony. We've been exposed to asbestos up there. They built affordable housing on top of a landfill that was very contaminated with toxic material from Fort Bliss, from farmers dumping 55-gallon drums of toxic chemicals, and the medical doctor's office dumping medical waste. I submitted all this evidence to both county governors, both governors, Martinez and you, and both attorney generals, Valderas and Torres. Doña County officials were also notified and given the evidence. We had meetings with state officials and county officials, and we told them that the site that they picked for building these houses, affordable housing, was the old landfill, and we told them we think that they buried a bunch of asbestos in there and a lot of toxic material. They overrided us and they built those homes, and now I have 9 nodules in my lungs. I'm diagnosed with asbestosis, cystic fibrosis, and it'll probably turn into cancer. They just told me yesterday, my daughter, 35-year-old, maybe she'll make it till Christmas. She has cancer. There's a lot of cancer, and by the way, now, I don't know if you heard about the PACT Act. Southern New Mexico is part of the PACT Act now, because I submitted all this evidence to the Department of Veterans Affairs, and it passed. So veterans are going to be covered under the PACT Act, but not civilians. And I'm hoping the state and the county comes in and tries to, start checking people out there because they're sick. I've seen a lot of them with oxygens, and I'm on oxygen too already. I'm a non-smoker, never smoked, and I used to run marathons. And now I can barely talk. But, I'm a disabled vet, and as veterans, we always fight for our people, the American people. And even I'm not active military, but I'm still a veteran. I'm standing up for all these civilians up there. Thank you very much.
First of all, thank you for the courage to talk about your personal illness. Secondly, I am so sorry for your diagnosis and the hardships of your daughter and your family. The woman who had the microphone, Gina, can you give us your name and number? And I'm going to commit the Department of Health and the Environment Department to come in to your neighborhood and area. You'll have to help us, if you don't mind, do a little outreach and networking, and we can do a little publicity. We'll do screenings, we'll do blood tests, so that you know what you're exposed to. It doesn't cover every exposure, but it gives us a good baseline for people who give us permission, not mandatory, but we can do testing by the Environment Department and get our arms around what's going on. And then I have no doubt you're right. And then we're going to have to figure out what the environmental response needs to look like. But you have my commitment that that will get done in short order. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your service. Okay, sure. All right.
Governor, thank you. My name is Tammy Sprague. Here I am. And I've been a citizen, my husband and I have been a citizen of Las Cruces since 1991. We raised our 4 children here. And I have one son and a daughter-in-law that are educators for the school district. I have 2 adult children that went to Albuquerque and got degrees in architecture. I have our youngest, we lovingly say defected, and moved to Arkansas. She and her husband are professionals in that state. They came home at Christmas and broke my heart in that they said, "Mom, this is not home that we know. Las Cruces is not the way it used to be." And so I think we can all here in this room share this sentiment. But because of their degrees and because of the dynamics of our family, we converse quite a bit about the homeless situation. And it seems to follow a latitude geographic. I am aware, and I want to bring this to your attention. I'm sure you probably are aware as well, but I'd like everyone in this room to know about 2 organizations that have a foot in the arena in trying to solve this situation or address this situation. And granted, they're not perfect, but they are doing something and taking action, which I applaud, because I firmly believe that we have to be the change we want to see in the world. Excuse me, got a little nervous in front of you folks. So the first that came into my awareness is out of Austin, Texas, and it is called Community First Village.
I've been there.
Okay, and I think that is a tremendous precedent. And the second, I just came into my periphery about 6 weeks ago, and it is out of San Diego, and it is called Sunbreak Ranch. And they are just to the point where their ideals hopefully will be realized. They're getting started and ready to fully enact their program. I want to say that Las Cruces has a very underappreciated jewel in the community of hope and our surroundings. And I think we've got strong backbones that we can build on to address this situation as we work through funding and program issues. But it's going to take teamwork, and we've got to get organized to do it. And this is a critical, I mean, this is a complex problem. And there are many, many layers to it, and so there are many things that we have to address. And I can attest, just like everybody here, of my personal instances and my personal fears, but this is a global problem. This is a national problem. It's local here, and we're here to say we want to address it. And that's, thank you.
I really appreciate that. Quickly, we're aware of Community of Hope. They're already meeting with my team. We're going to create unofficially an Office of Housing, and we're going to spend $20 million on services to the unhoused. That means more shelters and sheltering and more supportive services. Now, I'm going to say something that's a bit hard, and I'm not trying to get you to agree, but I want you to know where I am, because that would be unfair in the same way that I applaud you for wanting to work through. It is a complex set of issues, and there's no one thing that resolves all of it. But we do need more housing, we need more shelters, we need more services, we need compassion in that space. We will not shelter our way or do community behavioral health out of this problem. It is enormous now in the state of New Mexico, and there is a term for what's happening here, and it's called permissive homelessness. And that is what overtook in so many ways, and then no other services get done. Los Angeles, San Francisco, Portland, Austin, New Mexico is now on a sort of undercurrent list. You cannot be held accountable. You can be wherever you want to be. You can engage in retail theft and panhandling anywhere, anytime. You can be part of an organized effort to do that. People are coming here. They are being sent here, and shelters, I can't speak to Community of Hope, and I wouldn't probably believe it if I heard it. But I will tell you that we now have concrete information that many of the shelters in New Mexico, if you've got family back in Texas and you ended up here, they give you $100 and send you back. Well, so does Houston do that here. So this is America's solution, which is disgusting, is to just move people all over. The problem is, in addition to that being disgusting and I think human trafficking, and make no mistake, Texas sends lots. And I didn't believe it. I couldn't believe that was possible. I've heard it for a decade. I've pushed back, show me the evidence, and now I have shelters with their intakes participating in that design and showing me the evidence. And we're gathering more evidence about that right now in many ways across the state. We cannot solve America's unhoused crisis. We also, they don't screen. So you don't know who. It could be someone who's drug running. We have no idea. This creates significant risk for the shelters, for the neighborhoods that they reside in, for the people who volunteer and work there, and for everybody else. So I just want to say that because it's so complicated. It is all of everything. But I do want to highlight that the points you make, I would, and it doesn't matter whether I agree with you, I work for you. But the Austin model is one we're looking at. I haven't been to San Diego. Mr. Baker wrote it down. I will send someone over there fast. I've been to shelters and programs in St. Louis, in Kansas City, in Manhattan, in Chicago, in Dallas, Austin, Houston, LA, San Francisco, Portland, Salem, and I know I'm missing some. I have been looking, I have been researching, I have been paying a lot of attention to this issue. And New Mexico needs a statewide coordinated system where local folks who've been standing up services get the support that they deserve from the state. And I'm going to keep asking for it until we have enough resources to stand up the stuff for anyone that wants our help. Thank you.
Governor, my name is Edward Howell. Welcome to Las Cruces. How many people in here have been touched by crime in the last year? Raise your hands if you would. Okay, there's your problem. The problem is crime. It's not a housing problem. The issue that we have to deal with is getting these people who commit these crimes arrested and put in jail. Not put in jail and released the next day or that afternoon, but put in jail and prosecuted for their crimes. Now, Governor, sounds like I'm preaching and I don't mean to. The problem with the laws that we have in the state of New Mexico originate in Santa Fe, not in Las Cruces. And so for those problems to be resolved, your legislature, the House and the Senate, or whatever they're called, need to pass laws that impact Las Cruces and Albuquerque and Santa Fe and every other city in New Mexico, so that these people can be arrested by our great police department here, put in jail, sentenced, and put in prison. Because if they don't, it's just like a revolving door. They arrest them. We was at a meeting with the chief of police at the city several months ago. He said they arrest them in the morning and the next day they're back out on the street. That does not work. So the onus is on you, Governor, to get your legislature to pass these laws so that these criminals can be put away. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I accept that responsibility. I will say that the legislature has, in large part, rejected every single proposal, including pretrial detention. And I hope they're hearing you, because I didn't need to come here, but I'm grateful that I did, to know that these proposals are critical. And I believe we've asked for pretrial detention, which stops this revolving door for everyone, and then this competency, which stops a revolving door for a group of very dangerous individuals who are drug addicted and or have a mental health issue. And I'm not getting very far. So the people who have power over the legislature are in this room. I've asked for many of these proposals, many, not all, since 2019. Now, I'm going to defend the legislature too. I make it easy up here. To everyone's point, there are some complications, but I see no reason not to have these bills already done, already enacted, and I submit to you that if they had been enacted, we would be far safer today than we are. And I'm very unhappy about it, and I hope that we can get our policymakers and others to either come up with ideas that stop these revolving doors of crime, that get to retail theft and petty crimes that lead to serious felonies, and to hold bad actors in New Mexico who have not been held accountable ever. And so thank you for your comments, and I'm going to need a little help there. You're right. And, well, then, Mark Moores, get that shit, would you, passed. Here's the guy that's the leader of the Senate Judiciary Committee is here. He represents this area. He's not a Republican, but I know that you are. But what I'm saying is, I'm here not to do it's the legislature's fault or my fault, but to make it clear, I am asking for these things. Sounds to me like many of these things were on the same page. I don't think that enough city councilors, county commissioners, legislators, governors in America about these issues are working very well together to get them resolved. You have me at hello. I will keep introducing, I will keep calling them together, but they need to hear from you, and they are today. So I appreciate that they're here, and I appreciate the work that they do every day. Thank you, sir.
Hi, my name is Erin Ward, and I've been a resident in Las Cruces for about 15 years. I'm also happily employed at a local business here, have been employed there for about 2 years. And my issue mainly regards the calls of retail theft are treated with very low priority. And we've even been told that they're low priority. And I understand that we're dealing with a lot of issues in this town, and I'm not trying to say that our issues are bigger than anyone else's, but I think that there's a misunderstanding that these issues of theft very quickly escalate to issues of violence. And we're fully female staff. We're open a lot later than most establishments here, and many times our calls go completely unanswered. And the thing about it is it's more than just theft. Most of the time, these people turn violent. We've had our whole entire store lit on fire, and we didn't get any type of response until 3 hours after the original call. It's dangerous, and these issues are not small because they grow into bigger issues, and retail theft is treated as so low priority that often we don't even get a response at all. And it's dangerous for us, and we're good people that work really hard, and I feel like that I can't speak for every retail worker, but I can speak for my own store. We don't feel heard or protected at all whatsoever, and these issues become bigger issues, and it's not safe, especially for us. We're open very late, a lot later than most establishments, and I almost feel like our store is treated with prejudice in the very, very low amount of response we get from the police department. And it's dangerous, and it's not fair, and we work just as hard as anybody else in this town, and I feel like there's gonna be a lot of risk factors that add on to it when these calls are not treated with any type of a response at all. So what can be done to kind of address these issues with more of a sense of urgency, because they do escalate, and I've seen it, and I've been a victim of it, and I feel like a lot of retail stores here feel the same way.
I started part of this quest, and I did it in my introductory remarks. I mean, you can't unsee the risk that's in our communities. It is everywhere. You can't unsee it. I don't need, and I bet you don't either, any of the actual data, although we have it, you know it. In Santa Fe, that's where I grew up, I can't go to a single retail store or grocery store in that city without witnessing a theft. Not one. And my own detail have detained the individuals who are stealing. So I'm going to have the police chief answer, but I have, and it's more of a problem, and then we need to talk about solutions. Because they're responding to almost a 60% increase in violent crime here, this is happening everywhere, they respond to the most serious crimes. And so this is what's happening to us. We're in this spiral, and it's escalating. Well, I can't go to that misdemeanor, I can't go to that retail theft, because I'm responding to a call about a homicide. In the meantime, the people who are stealing know that no one's ever going to come. And with the number of handguns in the hands of people who should not have them, not responsible legal gun owners, they are never our problem. But the likelihood, if you stop someone or interfere with that someone innocent, including yourself, gets hurt, is high, including people with knives and machetes, because I've also run into that personally. The answer is more community policing, more patrolling, and to be clear about retail. But we got to deal with the serious stuff. I have some interesting ideas about having the state, through cities and counties, think about a reduction in crime security team. And I don't know what that means exactly yet, but we don't have enough police officers, and that's an excuse, doesn't solve the problem. But I need to figure out ways to give you more resources so that it's all of the above, and we're pretty good at working stuff out. I'm committed to trying to figure that out, but I want you to know that that is the tipping point. You are correct. It is, in fact, the tipping point. And in fact, we passed a law that says that we think it's all related. So if you keep stealing, we know that you're part of an organized retail theft effort. It is organized. But if we don't ever arrest you, and then we don't ever prosecute a single misdemeanor related to theft, and I can tell, I'm speaking for Santa Fe, not Las Cruces, Mr. DA. They just won't do it. They do not do it. Well, then I can't ever prosecute someone for organized retail crime because we never did the lower crimes to start with. So I've been really thinking about that. Thank you for saying it's happening here. I'm going to go to the police chief, but I'm in for creative solutions here.
Thank you, Governor. You know, we hear this often, and it becomes a logistical issue. I do need more police officers, and we do have to prioritize calls. Dispatch prioritizes them. That doesn't mean those calls are unimportant. So we're short on officers. We're short on all these resources. That's a fact, and it's going to take time to fix that. So then the question is, what do we do in the meantime? Because nothing's not an option. So I am happy to announce something that is starting the beginning of August, which is Operation Not in Vain. Now, that operation references the death, the murder of Officer Jonah Hernandez, because after that happened, I said, I will not let it be in vain, and I meant it. That was not lip service, that was a commitment. And our officers are committed to that, and our agency partners are committed to that. So starting at the beginning of August, for the duration of the year, we're starting Not in Vain. That's a joint operation with our federal partners and with the New Mexico State Police, and we are going to target every criminal act we can within the city. Now, a part of that is retail theft. We're seeing a reduction in property crime this year, which is good year to date, 7%. But we're seeing a huge spike in felony larcenies, felony thefts, primarily shoplifting and misdemeanor shoplifting. And so our community outreach officers that I point out over here that I task with everything, they also have a retail theft operation. But we need to add a lot of resources to that. So once we start this operation, a team will be working retail theft every single day of the operation to try to start to put a dent in it. And when people know that it's not a safe bet that they won't be caught or prosecuted, hopefully they'll have a deterrent effect. But even if it doesn't, we're going to continue to do everything we can to catch as many as we can and prosecute them. So that's my commitment. I don't know what store you work for, but feel free to talk to them about some of the issues. Just give them some basic information so we can follow up. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Hi, Governor. I've been trying to get a hold of you for 2 years now. I'm Patricia Jimenez. I'm sure everybody here on the panel, most of them know me by now. I know Chief Story, Gabe Byers. I've worked closely with your advocates. I have advocates behind me. I probably have 3 organizations behind me. I've been a victim of crime for almost 2 years. I had the little shop on me. And I was pushed out of La Mesa. I was pushed out to La Mesa, New Mexico. I had my life threatened. I was retaliated. I've called the police, 911 over 100 times. I had to lock my doors all day long. I was barricaded by a known repeat offender, Noah Jimenez, who barricaded me in my store for 2 hours. And I have a 5-year order of protection from Noah Masi, who terrorized me more than 60 times, and he got released left and right and kept terrorizing me and terrorizing me and terrorizing me and terrorizing me, and was released, and he was deemed incompetent, and all charges, according to the DA when they called me 3 weeks ago, all felony and misdemeanor charges against him were dismissed. How is that possible that someone and all these repeat offenders keep terrorizing me and spitting at me and urinating and defecating, and I called the police and they didn't come, and I've spoken to Chief Story when I was on KTEL radio, and he said that they were short-staffed. But when you have people that are covered in blood and they come to your store and you have to lock your store and you're by yourself and you have a guy with a hatchet that is terrorizing you and you have 7 trespass cards and the police have been called many times and you have your security company that is contracted through the city of Las Cruces, and I am contacting the city managers and all senators who ignored me many times for 2 years almost. Some of them local. Carrie Hamblin, right down the street from me, never bothered to call me, and the chief deputy director of communications from the majority Senate from the last roundtable actually hand-delivered 5 letters to Jeffrey Steinborn, Angelica Rubio, Carrie Hamblin, Joseph Cervantes, and I personally emailed George Munoz, and there was no answer. I've had Cassandra Gandra, Pro Temp, and the City Council. They've ignored me, okay, except with credit to McClure. I thank her for reaching out to me, but I was already thrown out of my store, and I had to relocate. The state of New Mexico, the Crime Reparations Unit, actually relocated me. What do you do when people like me and that poor woman over there who has a retail store, what do you do about the retail stores that we have to barricade ourselves every day? It's not fair to us.
So first, let me apologize that you've been trying to reach me. I'm unaware. That's terrible. So if I can have your phone number and you're available, I have a feeling it will be late tomorrow. I will call you tomorrow, and I will spend as much time as we need. I don't know about your particular case, so I'll have to, of course.
I feel that I've been retaliated. This has gone up to the the Department of Justice for criminal investigations of a few nonprofit organizations in town for corruption. I've had people in those facilities that were sprayed with fentanyl and walked into my store, and I called the police and no one came.
And again, I don't have any idea about the details, and but I appreciate your courage tonight. Part of what I think interrupts the situation that you talked about, and it is not the be-all to end-all, I want to be clear about that, and I'm open to any strategy that lowers risk, reduces crime, and holds people accountable. So whatever those ideas are, I'm in. The idea that I've been pitching is for folks who do come to retailers and businesses often and are incredibly sick and are felons. And I have heard from many businesses who are threatened every day. The same people show up every day. They insist on money, access to the store, access to the restrooms. People have been harmed. Customers will not come. And these are areas that are now unsafe. So I wish I could say that these were the only 2 businesses I have heard from. That is false. I hear from businesses everywhere that this is out of control. The people who were doing that, many would fit into this situation we're trying to interrupt, which is they are drug addicted, they are mentally ill, they are sick, and they commit dangerous crimes. Some people in that situation, not everyone, but those people who are should have the ability to go before a judge, and when the judge deems that that person is too dangerous to be back in front of your store, they get treatment until they're deemed cop enough to stand trial for the crimes that they have committed, period. Right now, they just get released over and over and over again. And I mean, when I said 30 times a year, I am not exaggerating. So it sounds to me like it is possible that your interface with a highly dangerous individual fits that category. I don't know. But I want to talk to you more. And I am sorry that I'm glad I'm here so that you could tell me that I've been hard to reach. I have a package. Well, that will be very helpful to me, and thank you for doing it. But this is exactly what one of these, it's called, and I'm gonna combine them. They're actually 2 bills, commitment and competency. It gives judges the tools to give people who are, frankly, extremely dangerous and repeat felons, it gives them a tool to do something about it. The only tool they have now is to have them right back in the community. And that seems to me to be completely ludicrous, and that we cannot do that anymore. Our neighborhoods need to be safe. Thank you for your courage.
Excuse me, Governor. Just want to acknowledge everyone that's here this evening. I got about 6 or 7 on this side, and I'm going to make my way into the center. So I just want to acknowledge you all, and I'll be your way shortly. Thank you.
Hola, mi nombre es Merlín Gallegos. Soy defensora de la infancia temprana a nivel nacional con la comunidad hispana. Desafortunadamente, el crimen de violencia armada tocó mi hogar y estoy aquí para pedirle a la gobernadora de qué manera puede ayudar a nuestra comunidad de Las Cruces. Ya estamos hartos del crimen, de las leyes injustas que tenemos aquí. Yo creo que las armas en las manos equivocadas son un peligro no solo para nosotros, sino para nuestros oficiales también. ¿Cuántos oficiales han perdido la vida a causa del crimen? Yo no quiero seguir con este tipo de violencia. Quiero que se hagan leyes más severas, consecuencias más severas para los criminales, para que no se les haga fácil quitarle la vida a las personas y sigamos siendo víctimas del crimen. Gracias.
Hi, okay. I'm going to do my best to translate. So she said, my name is Mariana Gallegos, a advocate for early childhood infants. And she has experienced crime, violent crime, armed crime in her neighborhood. And she wants to ask what we can do to implement more severe punishment for these bad actors. It's a danger not only for citizens, but also for officers, and we need something done about this type of violence because severe criminals should not be in these neighborhoods any longer. Thank you. Oh, and her daughter also have flowers for you, Governor, after the event.
The flowers are incredibly special. Hablo español muy poquito, señora. That was basically it. My father would be so embarrassed of me in this moment. He tried diligently to make sure that I was bilingual, and maybe tonight and in my father's honor, I do a little bit better at trying to learn my state's official language. So I tried to do it in Congress. It's clear that I failed. I'm going to try harder, señora. Your Spanish is beautiful. Muy bonito, bonita. We need more police and we need stiffer penalties. I agree. And we're asking for them for dangerous felons, felons with firearms, drug dealers, dealers with fentanyl. I'm open to others. The debate is this, I don't want to spend too much time on my answers, but I just want you to know I'm hearing you. I see you, I hear you, I'm frustrated too. There's not a lot of evidence out there that says that longer time in prison means that you'll stop somebody else. But here's where I am. If it stops you from being back out on my street for another 5 or 7 years after you tried to murder me, I'm in. And if it stops you from getting my son or daughter addicted to drugs, I'm in. Yeah, I'm there. So I think this is a state where the pendulum swings too far. And I'm going to be partisan for the one and only time tonight. And I'm a Democrat, that's been pointed out, for all the things that are good about that and all the things that are frustrating about that. We've had Republican governors, and I worked for one. Still like him a lot, Gary Johnson. And their platform was that government just gets too big and it's too bureaucratic. And there are a lot of people still feel that way. But when you cut services, you can't be indiscriminate. All right, and cutting services is hard. Sometimes I have to do that. It's a very hard thing. So you cut and cut and cut, and pretty soon you have no behavioral health. You don't have any doctors. We don't have any services. And we don't have any police officers because we stopped paying them. And we stopped investing in them. We stopped recruiting them. That's a problem. So then we do the other extreme. We just do, well, no, we do a lot. We invest in education and childcare and home visiting and affordable housing and K through 12 and free college and community centers and community programs. And they're all important and we need them. But you can't do one or the other. You have to do both. So if there's a lesson for every New Mexican, every Democrat, Independent, Decline to State, Libertarian, Green Party, and Democrat, we must do all of it, all at once, all of the time, so that we have the highest quality of life possible. And that is the truth. And it's time that this state stops picking one over the other. Do it all, because we have the resources and the ability to do all of it.
Good evening, Governor. My name is Shauna Pfeiffer. My husband and I own a business on Valley Drive. We've kind of coined that particular area as ground zero for the issues that we're seeing that you're obviously here to address, and we thank you very much for coming and being committed to continue the conversation. We've been working with the city, especially Chief Story and some of the city councilors, the mayor, to come up with creative solutions. And so I was wondering, first of all, I want to use this moment to identify that I believe the statistics associated with lesser property crime in this particular year is probably false, in that, like the lady pointed out earlier, we get frustrated sometimes when, that unfortunately we understand that the police are very busy and they have to prioritize because of the lack of support and the positions that they still have open. And so I think that property crime is probably not being reported. It's easier for us to go about our day than to have to wait. And so I think that's an important distinction, and we need everybody to report them so that the statistics are appropriate. Secondly, I believe every community, and I would assume the state, is getting opioid settlement money. I think that it would be extremely beneficial for the southern half of the state to benefit from that by looking at building, even if it has to be, in some instances, involuntary commitment, some mental health and or substance use disorder treatment facility.
So, quickly, the police chief and I agree with you. We think the retail and misdemeanor crime issues related to businesses are largely likely unreported. And again, it just shows that we're working together and we're earnest about the things that we aren't doing as well. And I agree with you, even though it could be frustrating for a bit, we need people to call. We need to know about it. And we need to show up and do better. And I've committed to the chief and the sheriff that we'll keep getting resources out here. And we even have billboards out telling police officers from other jurisdictions and states to move here. So we're doing everything we know to do. Two, yes, and I don't know if the secretary knows exactly who in the city and Doña Ana County, oh, you do, are getting some of that opioid money, so I'm gonna make sure that you know where. But in addition, we're doing medication-assisted treatment in most of our counties through our public health offices. And we've got about 100 people who are in that program right here. We're also on the clinical trial wait list, New Mexico is, and I want it right now, for permission to use other addiction strategies that are proving to be quite effective around the country, but you gotta get permission. I expect to get permission, Gina, soon, Monday, please. and more is coming, and more community-based health services are coming as soon as the federal government approves my multi-billion-dollar waiver. So we're doing that. We should do more. The bigger issue, not that we're where we should be, is that, and I really want to say this, so I have the microphone, and Ben Baker's afraid of me, so he's going to let me say it. Most people who really need behavioral health treatment are not asking for it. There are some people with significant specialty diagnoses, and I assure you the state isn't doing enough for them. And we're upset about that, and we've made it clear to the healthcare companies and hospitals, they better get it done, and we're creating better systems for people to tell me when their healthcare provider's not giving them enough mental health support and specialty services. But you hit the nail on the head. People need a process, and so do families, to require humane, constitutional, temporary, mandatory treatment. And people don't like to hear that, and this is not new for me. And just to put it in perspective, particularly for the gentleman, and he's right, I have the big job and I'm lucky to have it. He is also right. I'm the leader of the state Democratic Party, if you will, but I can't boss them around. If I could, I wouldn't be here. And that's also the way it should be. You don't want too much power in one body of government. I believe in those constitutional separations, and my sense is that they still are meaningful for this democracy. So I want to be careful that I shouldn't be flip in this moment, but I shouldn't be able to just tell them what to do. And we have some distance. But just to put this in perspective, Las Cruces and Doña Ana County have the state's best mandatory, outpatient assisted treatment AOT program. Those laws were sweeping across the country in the early 2000s because a young woman named Kendra was thrown in front of a subway in Manhattan by a person who was severely mentally ill, who kept getting off his medication, whose family couldn't commit him to services, and an innocent woman lost her life. Cities, including cities here, primarily Albuquerque, then Mayor Marty Chavez, convinced Governor Richardson to go after that particular law. Important to note that I was the Secretary of Health, and I signed on to a letter that said that was mandatory treatment should never be required. I'm going to say that. I know. I saw someone go, "What?" I did. And so did every other cabinet secretary. And the governor called me in. I don't know why he didn't call the other cabinet secretaries. I'm still mad about that. And said, "You're going to run this bill and you're going to find a way to believe in it." And I decided that people deserve not to be adjudicated by a court and sent to Las Vegas in an orange jumpsuit and handcuffs because they were mentally ill. And I decided right then and there that I believed in that bill. I ran it 2 years in a row. I lost it by a tie vote by the lieutenant governor, who was the same party as the governor. And I don't know, I think they were probably mad at each other about that. 20 years almost later, Senator Mary Kay Papin got that bill across the finish line. She has since, which she doesn't ever need to do, said to me she was wrong, that we should have passed that bill in 2004. We could only get it passed without any teeth, which means that if a court tells you to go to this outpatient treatment for medication assistance, if you don't go, nothing happens to you. So no, they don't go. The bill I proposed had that guardrail. These are not easy bills to pass, and the people who are here from the advocacy organizations must do their job so that we get it right. We cannot commit people at will. We cannot be draconian. We should not be fear-based. Everyone who suffers from a behavioral health issue does not need mandatory medication. But I would tell you, I was wrong when I signed that letter. I was right when I tried to pass that bill. And the days are gone when this state can wait nearly 2 decades to solve these problems. You're right. I want to do more. Thank you. Do you want to talk about what we've got?
So the good news here in this jurisdiction, both the City of Las Cruces and Doña Ana County government received some of the opioid funding. Collectively, over 18 years, it's going to be close to $24 million. And your city government and county government are working together to come up with a plan and coordinate the investments of those funds. And on the list of allowable expenses is to help invest in treatment programs, recovery support programs, housing programs that will also impact crime. So there is about $24 million over 18 years, and city and county are working together to coordinate the investments. And thanks to Gina, we're going to be able to also coordinate with some of the state agencies, because the state has a separate pool of opioid settlement funds.
That's very well, but unless we stop the drug addiction, drug addicts, you can put millions of dollars into these programs.
Hello, Governor. I'm Lorenzo Medina. I don't have that many items, but I do have a few. About 2 months ago, I went into Walgreens on El Paseo to make a purchase. And there was a young man who just walked in, dressed in black, with a hoodie on and a mask covering his face. And I watched him. He walked back in there, past the clerks, and grabbed an expensive bottle of booze, came out and ran out. And I am handicapped. I can't get out of your way. I saw what he did, and I moved to the right. He moved that way, and I moved to the left. And I wasn't trying so much to stop him. But as the moment came, I looked him in the eye and said, "You need to stop what you're doing." He had that bottle tucked underneath his arm. He took his other hand, and he put a good, solid, hard punch in my shoulder. Put me in the hospital. I went on the floor, we rolled around, and he escaped out that door. Okay, you had a lady who just left a few minutes ago. It is not safe in our stores. Now, I couldn't fight him because I used to wear a uniform like these men do. If we fight and we've worn a uniform, we're going to go to jail. You can't, a policeman or an ex-policeman cannot get in a fight with somebody out there. So I didn't, but I did stand my ground. Because it's time to stand our ground. We can't let them keep stealing, and hurting, doing these things. I'm not trying to imitate Mr. Trump, but it's time to fight. We have to fight to defend our state. Can't do this anymore. Drugs on the street, that is an issue with me. I have a son who's an addict. He's trying, but he walks in the door and he says, "Dad, you can get it anywhere over here, just down the street over here." And we've had him treated. He is mentally ill. So I'm listening to you about your bill. If you're mentally ill, why should you be punished in due time? You need treatment and make them go back to work and be, contribute to society. You don't need a prison full of drug addicts, okay? I used to work in the prison system here, for wherever you are over there. Classification Officer Medina. So I know what they can do there. My final point is, and you're not going to like this, okay? The border. You got to secure it. You got to do it. We see these people all over our city cruising around. We know, in Las Cruces, we know what's going on. I have a job where I've been driving around the streets all day long, deliver things. And I see them. I see them making deals. I see them selling to kids. I see them selling to children. Now, we need to put the authority back to these policemen. The city council needs to empower them and do what they have to do instead of not doing it, all right? We do not need another Officer Hernandez happening. That cannot happen again. Do y'all hear me? That cannot happen again. These men deserve to be safe, every one of them in uniform. Governor, you got a lot of work to do. Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate you coming here.
Sir, can I tease you a little bit right back? You're not going to like this, I don't think. I agree with you about the border. So we're on the same side. And when I was in Congress, I got close. Close is not good enough to getting a bipartisan border deal. And I'll tell you who was a real champion for smart border security was John McCain. We had he was amazing. John McCain and I worked really well together. And you don't care. And that's not to get you to care about that, except that Congress really likes us to be divided. Because I was there. It's a Washington, D.C. tactic, and we suffer as a result because they won't do the work that they need to do, which is why I want more. And I stood with this administration to close sections of the border right now, and they did. And I don't know that it's going to be upheld, and I get challenged about that all the time. Well, you know, a court might strike this down. Well, we'll never know if we don't try the things that keep us safer. So try them. So I'm all about trying that. And I do think, I think the state and Arizona, I think we have an idea to do some things that the state can do better. It's not enough. The Guard is involved, the state police are involved, other police folks are involved where they can legally, not enough. But I am not a person who believes the border is safe. I am not a person who believes that fentanyl is not coming there and from China and from Russia. It's pouring into every place in the world. It's outrageous. And we do have to do more on the public safety side. I agree with you. 2, we do need to return to a place where police officers know that the people they arrest aren't going to be right back out 5 seconds later. And they deserve the respect of doing that job. Thank you for your service in that space, sir. It is not an easy job. We should never lose a first responder. There's never, and we do, and it's outrageous and disgusting every single time. And this time was no different. And I think some of these laws could have made a difference there, which is exactly one of the reasons I think the state should do those and more. And we have to stop these retail theft folks. I'm going to lecture you. Don't try to stop them. We need you at these public forums to remind me who I work for and what my job is. Thank you, sir.
Ma'am, yes, ma'am. But I am a veteran. I'm not going to stand by. I'm just not going to do it. You may bury me, but I'm not going to stand by anymore. I'm sorry. God bless you.
Sir, would you give the gentleman with the microphone, you don't have to, but if your son or anybody here who has a family member that wants drug addiction treatment, they have to want it, otherwise I can't provide it. I'll try. You make sure, we'll have whoever's here, someone, get a sign-up sheet. You don't have to give me their name or anything like that. Our health professionals will call you and your family member. We call them directly. If they want treatment, I will find a way to provide the best possible drug addiction treatment right now. None of you should have a family member that's waiting for that. My bigger problem is the people who won't get treatment. But sir, I'd like to help you and your family if they're willing.
Hello, Governor. Hi. I'm kind of in the middle. My name is Lillian. I'm a Las Cruces resident. I don't know if you recognize me, but about 10 years ago, you invited myself and my 4-H club to wash your chickens at your house. It sounds strange. Everybody laughs. But at the time, I really looked up to you, and I have to say I was young and naive, and I'm very disappointed to see the bills that you're presenting that target unhoused folks. And I have a specific question. You say you have concern for community safety, but how will you ensure that the police are nonviolent, given their track record in cases such as Emilia Baca and Teresa Gomez, and the fact that New Mexico has the 3rd highest rate in the country of murders by police per capita?
Well, I'm sorry that I've disappointed you, but I appreciate your courage, and it is true that I'm not a very good chicken washer, and so I have to invite the 4-H clubs, and you were probably there to teach me that I had to clip their nails and clean their feet too. And we did the soapy water dip, and then we did the regular water dip, and I still do that today. And now I'm the proud owner of 20 chickens, and I have 4 little baby chicks, so I kind of blame you for that because I got good at it, and I love them. There has to be, for me, a recognition that there are innocent people caught up in any number of areas that need our attention and support. And the bills that I'm proposing are narrow. These are dangerous individuals, and then I'm not even suggesting for a minute it's their fault. But if you are too dangerous and you have attempted to murder someone or have murdered someone or have raped them, you can't be in my community. And I stand by that. You cannot be. In fact, I can't think of anything more humane than to say that we won't treat any of those individuals. If your question is there risk with policing? There is. It's an issue that we deal with all across the country. I would hold a bad actor in the police force, in the Guard, in state government, in the state police, in the firefighters, accountable in the way that the state can, and I would expect the local folks to do the same. If I were to promise you that there will never be an excessive force issue in the state of New Mexico again, I'm likely giving you bad information. But we are doing a much better job, and I think the country is really clear. But even though you have presented the other side of an issue that also needs attention, I can't ignore that people are being harmed in this state in abhorrent ways. And for me, I didn't have the data. I have to admit this. I knew that this competency issue was a problem. I had to find it. We don't talk about the data in this state. Now, if I call this police chief, he gives me anything I want, any complaint, any number of arrests, anything I need. Never says no. If I call this DA, gives me every case they're involved in. You get all the public information he has, I get. State police, well, they work for me. They don't have any choice. That is not the case in most jurisdictions in the state of New Mexico. And I have limited power. I can do a government request for information. I can wait, 15 days, then 3 months, then 6 months. We can go to court because I get bits and pieces. It's ridiculous. They don't share information between policing jurisdictions because they worry that it'll leak out and they can't do an investigation. And I understand that. But when I got 2 million lines of data from the courts about dangerous individuals that are coming before judges 30 and 40 times, I was a bit stunned by that. Because you'd think the courts would say, help us. We need some kind of a tool here. We see victims over and over and over, and often it's the same victim. And I am not talking about petty theft. I am not talking about panhandling in this design. I am talking about felonies that are incredibly dangerous. So if a police officer or a firefighter or a National Guard man or woman commits a felony, you're going to be prosecuted. Yet the DA says, yes, ma'am. So we should prevent that, and I will assure you, we have revamped all of our community policing training, all of it. And I'm feeling pretty confident. And that's why these bills are important to me. But what you say is powerful. And it has to be part of our equation. It can't be all of one and none of the other. Prevention, treatment, support, community services, and accountability. It has to be, for me at least, all three. But thank you for reminding me of our meeting, and thank you for telling me you disagree, because that's powerful, and I work for you too. Thank you.
Just real quick, if I may, Governor, policing in the United States, the estimate is 65 million citizen contacts in a given year. The average amount of fatal officer-involved shootings hovers right around 1,000 every year. 1,000 fatal officer-involved shootings out of 65 million citizen contacts. You can do the math. In Las Cruces, we average over 150,000 calls for service. Now, each one of those calls for service might have one person or it might have 50 people we interact with. So you're talking about 500,000, just to be conservative, 500,000 citizen contacts in a given year. We average around 250 to 275 uses of force, of any force, including minor force. So the percentages are in our favor for something that is extremely tense, uncertain, a lot of dynamics, and officers are having to apply the law within split seconds in very difficult situations. Now, that's not to say that accidents or mistakes, both, don't happen. And when they do, there's accountability, whether that's training, whether that's through the judicial system. And we can also do better across the board with all our interactions. And training is a big piece of how you limit the amount of bad things happening, the amount of mistakes and the amount of bad things happening. And so by increasing training and putting a higher focus on professional training, we reduce that amount. You're not going to eliminate it because we're talking about human beings interacting with human beings. But the statistics are on our side when you look at them, and that is the reality.
If I could add to that just a little bit. The district attorney in every district in the state of New Mexico is duty-bound to review officer-involved shooting incidents. This district has an officer-involved shooting response team that is comprised of detectives, experienced detectives from every law enforcement agency in this district.